Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Thanks, everybody. It's Dr. Homebrew. Appreciate you joining us today for another fun talk with homebrew people. Homebrew things, talking about homebrew in general. I sound like a TV presenter that has no idea about homebrew at all, so I just keep repeating the same thing. You know, we're on a homebrew journey, guys. We're journeying down the streets of homebrew, and, we're just homebrew guys.
Homebrew Bound. Didn't that movie have, like, Michael J. Fox, and it was like a dog or something?
Yeah, and Sam Calagione.
Yeah.
Also a song by Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah. See, there you go. All right, Cooper and Shar, welcome, boys. Thanks again for doing this once more and bringing homebrew education to me, really, and then everybody else is just sort of ancillary.
Also bringing beer to your place for you, both your places.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, man. Hey, you're the schlep. I don't know. We were trying to work something out, and then Cooper's like, well, I got to do a concert or whatever. And, it just worked out. Colin, welcome back, dude.
Glad to be back.
Good. You know who else is glad you're here? 5-Star. You go to 5-Star Chemicals, and they'll show you just exactly how good that you have it, because they will teach you how to make the best beer possible by cleaning and sanitizing, of course, with their products and their methods and their years and years of experience in the chemical industry that is oddly not related to also the dance music industry. They're very different. They sound similar, but they're different. Different chemicals, different kind of chemicals. This stuff will clean your carboy. The other stuff will clean out your brain. For better or for worse. I don't really know what that means. But anyway, check them out. Thank you very much to 5-Star for sponsoring this show. Oh, man, it's another hot one here. I don't know how long I'm going to make it. It's roasting in here. We're supposed to have solar by now. I just want to, rant a little bit. But we got Tesla, solar panels and batteries and shit like that. And it's been 9 weeks since they've been installed and paid for, and they have yet to submit the paperwork to PG&E. So I can wait 40 days to have PG&E come out, and it's like, we're just spending money on PG&E, and I'm infuriated. And every time I call my service advisor, they're like, "Well, I can't do anything because they just have to submit paperwork, for God's sakes. Just send paperwork." But they can't do it.
I know a guy who knows a guy, JP. We'll send him right over.
Do you really? Are you
and
sure?
Of course, this happens at the hottest time of the year we've had so far.
That's what I told
the hottest time we'll have all summer. It was 96 here earlier.
That's what I told my service advisor. I was like, this is why I got it, just so I could use it. She goes, well, I don't know what to tell you. We're just really busy. I'm like, how busy are you for 9 weeks of no paperwork? This is ridiculous.
So busy that I can't run my air conditioner with the windows wide open. You asshole.
Yeah, dude, I'm a little pissy about it. But anyway, That's me. That's also a me problem. I got gas, me. No solar, also me. Spend a bunch of money, also me.
Gilmore Girls shirt, also you.
I got my HVAC going in at my new house. It's new to me, not like it's a new build.
Sure.
And should be done in a couple of weeks.
Nice,
I will be having air conditioning probably at the time of the next Dr. Homebrew.
Awesome. God bless.
And I'll be at a different location. It'll be all loud and echoey and shit, and we'll have to deal with all that. But at least I'll be cool.
That's all right. That's all right. That'll be good.
JP and I have developed a new technique for opening Colin's bottles.
Yeah. So if you remember, last time Colin was on, he's the king of the mold people. And somehow his labels and even the under rim of his cap got moldy. And I don't know why. We can't really figure it. I mean, obviously there was moisture in the bag. But he put the labels on and looked nice. He put them in a Ziploc bag, which a lot of people do. And honestly, I've never once had the plastic bag do anything. Not because it leaks, but because the bottles have always been packaged perfectly. So just as a aside, I don't know. Anyway, but within the plastic bag, mold grew. And so Brian Cooper and I just poked the bottle through the corner of the plastic bag. And then we just don't have to expose ourselves to Colin spores. But anyway.
Mine looks
this-
pretty. So
Yeah, yours
I'm
look-
blaming
yeah.
you guys.
This looks great,
This
man.
is to the point where you could barely read the label, and so I'm going to take this around the corner store and just sip it like a 40 out here by the AM PM.
I love me a good AM PM. Colin, what beer are we drinking tonight, buddy?
This is American Pale Ale.
American Pale Ale, and of course, is this the first one you have ever made?
It is not. Probably third or fourth try.
Okay, I've tried a couple times, but I think I've bitched about it on the show before too. It's hard for me to get the hops and the malt right. Like I think my water's too soft. I don't know. It's too hard. Well, it's one of the two. It's either too hard or too soft. Like the hops don't come through as much as I need them to, and so I just sort of gave up.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of the style. That's what I like too, is the balance, and
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the whole crutch of this. So I'm curious as what you guys think, if it's balanced or not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Shar, why don't you go ahead and go first? Why not?
Whoa! All right. I can do that.
All right.
So, Colin, thanks for sending us your beer as usual. I just go through here, bottle inspection. It's a bottle. It was filled properly. Check that box. That's good. Aroma. Thought it was dominated by a high hop aroma. It's a classic spicy hop character. I was telling Cooper before the show, this beer reminded me of going to a brew pub in 1991 in a good way. This is like the type of, like every brewery had some beer kind of like this. And I always enjoyed it and always drank a lot of it. Low base malt is present, no esters or off aromas. It's a pale ale, so it should primarily be hops and a little malt. 10 out of 12. Appearance, 3 out of 3. Head is high and persistent. Extremely clear, pale gold color. Looked great for a pale ale. Flavor, initially some spicy hop flavor, like in the aroma, was present, but at a low level, a lot lower than the aroma. Low malt is present, and mid palate balance shifts from kind of up to no bitterness to medium high, almost high hop bitterness in the middle, which persists into a long finish. It's well attenuated, no off flavors. Give it 14 out of 20 for flavor. Mouthfeel, 5 out of 5. Medium body, medium high carbonation, neither creamy nor astringent, not warming. Even though I hadn't had anything to eat for a long time before I had this, so I don't know, maybe I'm just getting a better tolerance for judging Dr. Homebrew beers on an empty stomach. So we'll see. Overall impression, 7 for a total score of 39. I like this beer. I like this beer a lot, as the score reflects. It is excellent. The question for me that we'll discuss later on when we discuss your recipe is whether the hop bitterness was too high for an APA. I mean, we all probably remember these endless debates like 10 years ago, where 10, 15 years back, when everyone's trying to push the IPA envelope, and then they're pushing the APA envelope too. And people are making pale ales that really are IPAs. And what's the boundary? And that's always been kind of a fluid thing. And it's always been kind of a reflection of beer culture at a particular time, I think. But I think it's maybe on the upper end. You know, drinking this in 2021, where we have hazy IPAs that aren't so bitter, and we have West Coast IPAs and everything else, I think this is probably right on the boundary of the upper end of where you want to push it, but it's still okay. But it still may be a bit much. Nicely done. Example of a classic. Like I said, 39, and I thank you for sharing it with us.
All right. Excellent.
Thanks.
Mr. Cooper.
Okay. Wow, that was a quick review there.
Yeah, I know. I feel a little awkward.
Hey, we're trying to we're trying to keep moving on this show. So
You didn't have anything bad to say about it, really. You know? I mean,
no, I did.
The bitterness.
The only bad thing was maybe a little recipe adjustment, that maybe I liked it, but maybe for style it was a little too bitter. I don't know.
Okay. I'm finding, so the bottle inspection, I think this has been a pattern with Colin, is having a very high fill. And I was curious the intent of that. Is it
Colin,
to minimize oxygen, or can you jump in and
just use a beer gun? So I'm not trying to fill it high. I get the beer gun in, I freeze my bottles and then get the keg pressure really low, so it just creeps in there, and then I cap on foam. So
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really hurt to have a high fill. It's just some judges will look at it like, oh, that's too high. It's going to be undercarbonated or something. Or, yeah, no, it was fine. So in the nose, I found more of a bright citrusy hop nose, medium undertones of pine, and later on when I revisited, I found a little bit of tropical in there too with the re-sniff. Low base malt with a light toastiness to it. There wasn't any DMS or diacetyl. It's clean. Fruity esters are medium. It's inviting. No grassiness. Just a nice clean ale. And I was ready to take a sip, but then I checked out the appearance, which was a yellow gold color with fairly good clarity. I see JP poured a sample like super turbid and messy.
Hell yeah.
But
I run my life, Cooper.
He's got a little haze in his, but
haze life.
Mine's pretty darn clear.
Yeah, but mine's like standard homebrew. Like even you can get that in a commercial beer. These days, I would call this maybe a touch cloudy, but well passable. I would never like complain about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of the hazy beer craze has now shifted that paradigm, and
Yes. So the beer started with a medium head, and it stuck around quite well. Mostly finer foam, and it's white in color. Flavor-wise, this kind of gave me a little twist. It was interesting because I thought, oh, it's kind of a classic West Coast American Pale Ale, like Brian was saying. But when I got into the flavor, all of a sudden it comes in with this more tropical than citrus kind of fruity hop flavors, or combined with esters. That's just a little twist to me, and I kind of enjoyed that. It gave it an interesting little change in the, sometimes that you get a preconceived notion what the beer is going to taste like after you smell it, and then it really surprises you. There was moderate bitterness. I thought it was okay for the style. But I'm kind of a hop head, and I probably burned out my palate for bitterness anyway. So, balance to the hop, definitely. Finishes dry, but has a medium tropical esters that give the impression of some sweetness. So it's pleasant that way. Malt is low and light. There's a little toast and light toast and tropical flavors in the aftertaste from malt and hops. Kind of nice balance there, I thought. Not biting at all. No obvious alcohol fighting with anything else in there. No DMS or diacetyl or acetaldehyde. Just a nice clean ale. Mouthfeel wise, medium light bodied with no astringency or alcohol warmth. Fairly crisp. Otherwise, kind of thirst quenching. Not very creamy. Carbonation is medium high to style. Overall impression, I would say, is a very pleasant drinking American Pale Ale with a classic / modern impression, kind of blended. Classic in that the nose seems mostly citrusy and piney, but then when you get into the flavor, it twists more modern to me. With the bitterness to me was fairly restrained. I don't think I'd like to know how many IBUs you are in here. Brian and I can duke it out later, but the big tropical fruit esters just, come across in a modern way. Some nice hop choices in there, and maybe combined with the yeast choice and how you took care of your fermentation. Smooth as it should be. I mean, this beer should just be eminently drinkable. I'm not sure, if it's from the hop or or fermentation. No, that tropical fruitiness. I would guess mostly the hop, but like I said, it could be a combination. I guess I maybe like it to, in a way, it's kind of nice, interesting to have that balance, but I'd like you to have that, decide what it is and kind of commit to one or the other. Maybe either add a little more tropical hops for the nose, or back those off a little bit and use more classic hops in it and go classic. But maybe if you want to go classic, you'd also want to kind of dial back the esteriness of it a little bit and have it a little kind of sharper. But man, it's a good beer. I gave it a 39 as well, and very tasty. Thank you for sharing.
All right, very good. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I do get a little bit of like a hot plasticky thing, and I think that is a hop flavor. It's a hop ester, or not hop ester. That's stupid, but you know what I mean. It's a hop thing. So maybe that goes in line with what you guys are saying, where it's like maybe there's too much bitterness in there, and it's sort of coming across as like this plasticky, almost.
Could be like a dankness or a pine.
Plasticky like phenol.
Plastic, yeah.
Well, here, let me give it another bang. Yeah, I guess it's a phenol. It's like a spicy, like a plasticky, spicy thing. But I also just smoked plastic, so I don't know how to like.
Right.
That's how I maintain my youthful look. I'm really 57, and I'm just smoking plastic for the rest. Colin, let's go through your recipe, man, and maybe we can, maybe I can use your recipe to justify my instead of the other way around. Yeah.
Okay. We'll start with water. So calcium was 72, sodium 27, sulfate 149, chloride 52, mash pH was 5.4. I'm sorry, 5.3. Malt bill, it was 91% or 10 pounds of Best Malls Vienna malt. And then it was 7% or 3/4 of a pound flaked wheat. And then 2% or 1/4 pound aromatic malt. So nothing too crazy there.
That's nice. That's a lot of Vienna there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've played with it, and I like Vienna as a base in the pale ale.
That's really cool. Yeah, I like that too. It had that nice toastiness that played off the hops. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
So I've done previous iterations without any other specialty malts, just a little bit of wheat in Vienna, and I felt like it needed something. So aromatic is kind of a beefed up Vienna malt. So I gave that a shot just to kind of, I don't know, instead of doing something different, just kind of cranking the volume up on that base flavor.
Yeah.
Yeast was the YE 1728, which is the Scottish ale. It's kind of what I use for my General House yeast. 0.75 million cells per degree Plato, kind of standard pitch rate. I pitched at 65 and then let it do its thing. So actually I ran out of room in my fermentation chamber, so it wasn't temp controlled at all. Just got it down to pitch temp and then just let it ride. And I just kind of wanted to see what that yeast would do uncontrolled. And I actually was fairly happy with it. I don't think it was overly estery or anything. Original gravity was 49. Final gravity was 7. So about 5.6% alcohol. And then the hop bill. So at 20 minutes, I did 1 ounce of Columbus, 1/2 ounce of Chinook, and 1/2 ounce of Simcoe.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's it. I don't know, man. Go ahead.
I was going to say, oh, what?
No.
And then I do a whirlpool with a sous vide. So I basically on my kettle, I'll put a sous vide there and keep it about 180 degrees and just let it swirl. So for 20 minutes, and then I did 1 ounce. In that, I did 1 ounce of Columbus, 1.5 ounces of Chinook, and 1 ounce of Simcoe. And then after that, go to fermentation. And once fermentation's done, I will cold crash the yeast and then pressure transfer into a keg with dry hop in it. Let the dry hops sit for 3 days and then transfer to another keg to carbonate. But the dry hop was 1 ounce of Columbus, 1.5 ounces of Chinook, and 1 ounce of Simcoe.
Wow.
So lots of old school classic hops, nothing fruity, tropical, modern, nothing like that in there.
Interesting. I wonder if some of the fruitiness could be coming from the malt then too, giving it a little twist. But, usually you would expect a little fruitiness, but, more like kind of toasty and that's interesting. What were the IBUs calculated at?
55.
Okay.
So,
55. That is high. Yeah.
So it's a OG IBU ratio of 1.1, which is pretty high.
And I want to back up and think about how strange it is that Simcoe is now considered an old school hop. I remember when it was the new hotness. I'm old.
That's right. Brian's over here getting Pride of Ringwood and going, wow, I can have enough now. I've been saving for 6 months and I have enough to make a beer now.
I can actually honestly say to you, I have never brewed with Pride of Ringwood.
Yeah, neither have I. That's like straight up 70s shit.
I need a lot bigger mustache to be brewing with Pride of Ringwood.
Definitely. Go ahead, Colin. Yeah, you know the drill now. Go ahead.
I'm curious if kind of that more fruity modern interpretation was because of the way I used the hops. So the hop schedule was more of a modern hop bursting kind of profile as opposed to a lot of hops in the actual boil, which there obviously are some, but just one 20-minute addition. It's not like I'm boiling 3 ounces of Columbus for 60 minutes or anything like that. So I wonder if just using the hops in a different way kind of gives a more modern interpretation.
I think, that definitely the way you use the hops is going to pull different flavors out of them. If you boil the shit out of them for an hour, it's pulling out a lot more of the harshness and the plant matter, kind of, the green quality of the hops. Whereas if you whirlpool it and do late hops and dry hops like that, you're going to get more of just the aromas. I'm surprised with all the, the Columbus in here. I didn't get a big like garlicky or anything like that on anything. It must have been really nice and fresh. And the, I did get some of the pininess and the resininess of the Chinook and the Columbus and stuff. But yeah. And of course the Simcoe pine, but no cat box or anything weird there. It's just like they blended.
I didn't get any cat pee in this beer at all.
Yeah. They played nice.
I have to do 2 ounces of cat pee next time.
Just enough.
Well,
cat.
if you tincture it,
There you go.
do a tincture, drop a little bit of time. You're fine. Anything else, Colin, you got for these guys?
I guess the question of the balance. I mean, is the hop versus malt appropriate?
I liked it myself, but I think Brian thought it was too bitter probably for Brian.
I think it was a little too
I thought
bitter.
it was right on the edge. Yeah, I thought it was maybe right on the edge. And if it's one of those things where if you like it the way it is, leave it the way it is. If you're brewing it for competition, that's a real tough call, how bitter to make your APA, because you're going to be competing with people. They're going to try to overload the hop bitterness, almost like an IPA, to stand out. And you want to be before those folks, before the judge blows his or her palate out on those, but then you don't know where you're going to be in the flight. So that's always the issue with judging, with brewing and judging pale ale is, where's that line, and where has someone really stood out versus gone too far?
So I a very, very similar recipe to this a couple years ago got gold in my category at a competition in California. So again, I would probably depend if I'm doing that on the East Coast, I probably would have done as well as opposed to West Coast. Would be my thought. Yeah,
West Coast.
Know where to enter your beer. What region of the country? Yes. Hey, West Coasters will like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, if my opinion means anything, I think it was a little too bitter. But
I think that I would make an argument that maybe the mold under the cap is twisting some of those esters into a tropical sense.
I did not get any mold under the cap this time.
No, I didn't. I washed it off both times. So.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So I've also heard Chinook can kind of get a little pineapple-y. I wonder if that is what you're picking at.
I think of Chinook as more like grapefruit kind of. It's like kind of. It can have kind of a sharper, bright citrus and twisted citrus there. So the Chinook could be where some of that's coming from for sure. And it varies from year to year too. It'll throw up different flavors. So
sure. I debated throwing a little small addition of some kind of crystal. So maybe like it's always been a debate whether to put crystal malt in a hoppy beer or not. But I wondered if maybe like just a few percentage of like a crystal 10 or a 40 or something like that would add some dimension.
I think you wouldn't go lower than 20. I think you do. Yeah, something there would help. I mean, it would definitely help. Whether or not that's what you're looking for, that's a different story.
I think it would make it seem more classic, like the old school American Pale Ale. So, but I like it the way it is, honestly. I think you get enough complexity from what you got in here.
Well, there you go. That's an opinion from Brian Cooper, not a fact.
Water. Any water sticking out? Anything in the way there?
No. It's clean. Works for what you need.
I didn't feel like I was licking a rock.
It's a plus.
Well, there you go, man. Gotta love it. All right, Colin. Well, if that's it,
yep,
you're done.
Appreciate it, guys.
You're done here. Go back to the waiting room. All right.
He's a repeat offender, and he shall offend again. I think on a future show very soon here.
That's right. All right.
Find out.
Thanks, Colin.
See ya.
All right.
Thanks, man.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with the next beer right after this. Dr. Homebrew, hang on.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
Hey, thanks for sticking around, everyone. We are back, Dr. Homebrew, and we have a new guest on, Vito. Welcome, Vito, to Dr. Homebrew.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for sending in beer. So this is this your first time on the show?
Yes, it is.
All right, welcome, man. Welcome. How do you feel? You nervous?
Yeah, just as any situation I'm ever in that is new.
Yeah, you're like, all right. I mean, worst case scenario, I can just fight everybody and it's fine. Like, that's how I think about it. You know, you go into a bar, you're like...
scenario, you go in and, fix everything and
that's right.
all that stuff. And,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, edit me out altogether.
So,
well, good.
yeah,
I'm glad.
We're appreciative of you emailing me, Brian, at thebrewingnetwork.com and sending in your beer.
And that's Brian with a Y.
All you have to do. We'll take anything. Brian with an I.
Brian with 4 Y's.
And we
interspaced in between the letters.
Yeah. That would be like a serial killer, a guy with that name.
True. Yeah. And what did you send us today, Vito?
An American Amber Ale.
All right, American Amber Ale. Is this your first shot at American Amber?
It's my second, but there's kind of a backstory behind this one in particular. So
we'll talk about the backstory a little later.
You want to do later? Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's
Okay. This one, I had 2 batches and 1 poison fell in, and I don't know which it was. So I sent you each. It's just a little bit of...
There's some kind of tragic backstory. I'm kind of curious to hear this, like, Anakin Skywalker or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
not quite that.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. Cooper, let's start us off, and the faster you guys get through this, the faster we can hear the story. Story time. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Cooper.
The fill was appropriate. The bottle had a nice hiss when you opened it. In the nose, I'm getting a low caramelly malt with hints of biscuit, medium low stone fruit like ester. Hops very restrained with a low earthy floral character. No DMS. I thought I could be getting a faintly butterscotch-like character, but I wasn't convinced it's from any diacetyl. It just seems malty, but there's I think that the carameliness in it is so rich it's throwing up a little butterscotch-like edge to it. Appearance-wise, it's a light amber-colored beer with a fairly good clarity, only minor haze. A well-formed medium-sized head of creamy, fine eggshell white bubbles. Persists quite well. Really nice head. The beer is cleanly malty with a sweetish caramel note dominating in the flavor. That's at kind of a medium level. Here I didn't really get any butterscotch tones. I did get a little light toffee underneath the caramel, which was, I thought, pretty nice. Hops are low, citrusy, and floral with a low bitterness. It's definitely balanced to the malt, and I would say it finishes semi-dry, but the impression of sweetness is there as these malty qualities linger into the aftertaste. It's quite cleanly brewed, no diacetyl, really pleasant drinking. So I would say the hops are maybe a little low for style in it. The hop flavors are just kind of backgroundy in this beer. But, it can lean that direction sometimes. So it's not like totally out, but definitely on the low end, one of the maltier versions of it to me. Mouthfeel-wise, medium bodied, smooth, and moderately carbonated beer. No obvious warmth, but some light alcohol. Kind of a prickle detected. You can tell it's not, water. There's definitely some alcohol there, but it's not sharp at all. Somewhat creamy, no astringency or really biting qualities at all. It's really nice and smooth, and that's definitely something to style. You want it to be super smooth and just go down easy, but have a little boldness to it, a little body. So overall, it's a very nice drinking American Amber Ale with a pleasantly caramelly impression overall. This is the defining quality of this beer, I would say, the carameliness. The hops are just a bit more muted than expected for the style. It should have a little more hop maybe to balance that, but I can accept this as the very malty end of American Amber Ale. I wouldn't mind it having it bump up and just for a little bit better balance to bring more into line with what's expected for the style. We always, if it's anything American, we always overdo the hops, if anything, right? So it's America, damn it. But yeah, it's still quite wonderfully drinkable and eminently smooth for what it is. I would also just clean up the haze for the, it should be clear for, especially if it's a low hopped version. The guidelines say you can have a little haze if it's a really hoppy one. So I took a point off just for the, actually, but this, you know what? This one's actually super clear. The one I had last night had a little haze in it. It might've been the way I poured it or something, but sorry about that. Maybe the point comes back. So last night I gave it a 37. This time I guess it comes up to a 38 if I add that point in, because there really is not much haze to speak of here. So that's good. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Shar.
All right, Vito, I forgot with our first entrant, our first patient here in Dr. Homebrew, to ask the question that is my sort of hallmark question on the show. Are you in a homebrew club?
Not yet.
Okay, that's fair enough. You're a lone wolf, but you're looking for a pack.
The intent is there.
What state are you located in?
What's that?
What state are you located in?
Virginia. I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I should think
they have a couple here that I know of.
Yeah, go to. You're lucky. People that are fortunate to have more than one homebrew club in their area. A lot of times they're just different and have different focuses. So I always recommend go to one or two meetings of each of them, and just see who you click with, and that'll be your beer group.
Cool.
And give it a shot. So
I wouldn't do it. I would stay by myself.
You might not like the clubs there. Yeah. I know some of those guys there. Watch out. Some of them are dangerous.
Being alone is so much better for your beer.
Look, I'm not saying don't bring a concealed weapon. I'm just saying,
Brian, as a lawyer, you can say that.
Yeah, I am saying don't bring it. Please don't bring a concealed weapon to a homebrew club meeting. For the love of God, everyone listening, please don't do that. That's a joke. That is comedy.
Well, it's
funny.
A joke. It's a joke.
But don't actually. Yeah, I think so. Worst case, leave it in your car, because really booze and weapons don't really go together.
Sure.
Or ask any ER doctor; they go together probably far too much. So this amber ale. The bottle was good. Initial impression to me was kind of a woody, minty, piney hop aroma and medium to high caramel malt. No esters, really no off aromas. I gave that a 10 out of 12. Appearance is a 3. Medium head settles quickly. Slight haze. I think Brian knocked you off a point, but I thought for this style it's fine. That's going back old school throwback guidelines for hoppy beer. Some light chill, not hazy IPA levels of haze, but those kind of hop polyphenol hazes are totally okay. Color is a medium amber, so looked real nice. Flavor. Initially, the flavor was malty and slightly sweet. Got a low woody and minty hop flavor. That caramel malt was definitely present. Medium high hop bitterness comes up in mid palate to be balanced. And that's actually kind of the neat thing about this beer, and one of the fun things about this style that kind of has, people not brewing these ambers really so much anymore. Thing that has gone away is that balance between the caramel, when they're fresh, that balance between that caramel sweetness and the hop bitterness is a real nice balance, and is a real good experience. But of course, people stop making these in part because the oxidation issues. Like if you're not getting them fresh,
exactly,
and they're sitting around for a while, then these are the kind of beers that will rapidly turn into chewing a hunk of cardboard, and nobody wants to do that.
Right.
Let's see. It's balanced, well attenuated. That's also one of the fun things about an amber with a lot of caramel malt. It tastes real sweet in a sense, but it's real attenuated. That sugar's been chewed up by that yeast and turned into alcohol, and it's not worty sweet. It's a function of those chemicals that have developed in the caramel malt that we perceive with our taste buds as being sweet, even though they're not a sugar. Finish is long and balanced, 13 out of 20. Mouthfeel, medium body, medium carbonation, no warming, no astringency. It's not creamy. 5 out of 5. Overall impression, I gave a 7 for a total score of 38. I'd say at first I thought I did mistake it at the beginning. I had to sit. I have not had an amber ale for probably 10 years, not because of lack of wanting to have them. I used to drink that Red Seal from North Coast all the time. That's good stuff.
That's good. Yeah.
I still love the Red Seal, but you just don't see them amber ales around that much anymore. So I have to say, at first I thought the caramel was like, this is some worty, unfermented nonsense in here. This is not going to be good. But the more I kind of drank that sample and thought about it, the more I realized, no, that's caramel malt. That's something that I haven't, probably used or had in a beer for a long time. People just don't use it that much these days. And it was very apparent what it was. I thought that the hop flavor blended really well with the caramel malt. That was a good choice. I'll be curious to hear your recipe about that. I might consider, if you're brewing this for competition, if you're brewing this because you like it the way it is, keep it the way it is. For competition, I might back off on the caramel malt, maybe 10, 20%, because it might be a little overwhelming for modern judges that haven't had this style a lot. But overall score is 38, which is excellent. So I appreciate your sharing, and I'm going to drink some of this while you tell us about your recipe and we talk about your beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just poured a little more, and it got hazier on the second pour. So maybe you guys just poured more than me to start, or I poured more last night. It's interesting as it keeps going there, but I didn't
maybe it needs to be a hazy style for it to be more popular.
No, stop it, Brian.
Hazy amber.
Shut up, Brian.
Hazy, I'm calling it now. Hazy amber.
A hamber. All right, Vito. Dish, dude. What's up? What's up with this? What's the story, man? What's the story on this?
Are we gonna die?
Well, the story would be that, and there's a lot. I say there's a lot to it, but the original recipe is actually from the Brew Your Own magazine 2013 Lagunitas IPA clone.
Okay,
if you can believe that, and completely not what it is. Because this was my first 5-gallon batch, and I did it on my electric stovetop.
Okay, all right.
And I just I couldn't get that boil to get those hops, the oils out of the hops, and really kind of nail it down and give it the bitterness and all that it needed to be the IPA that I was essentially shooting for.
Do you think maybe also because you were driving that boil or trying to drive that boil so hard on their stove that you might have gotten some caramelization in the kettle? Well, I mean, I'd like to know how was there caramel malt in there and how much, for that recipe?
Yeah. I mean, I've got the recipe here, but that's kind of like the again, the backstory, I guess, on that. But if you want to hear the recipe, I've got that right here.
Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't trying to cut you short on the story. I was just like, wow, yeah. No. When you started talking about the process, I'm like, is that where some of the carameliness could have come from? But because the process is always
and possibly, and honestly, more so that's I kind of sent it in. I enjoyed what it became or what it is, and all that, and sent it in as something completely different is what I was going for. But I just kind of wanted general feedback and maybe some more understanding of this, but 60-minute mash at 155, 93% two-row, 3% Carapils, 3% Crystal 60, and 1% light Munich.
That's not a lot of crystal malt.
No, at all.
Yeah, so so there's that. So it probably was. It was a 90-minute boil. So could have just been that. It was real low at times. I had a little low, boil going, and other times not.
A simmer.
Kind of, yeah. The hops. It's a 3.5 ounce Horizon for 60 minutes, 1 ounce Cascade for 30. And 3 ounce Cascade at flame out for about 15 minutes before I cooled it down. So
Okay. What was your starting and your final gravity?
Let's see here. Original 1060, final 1014. So it's about 6%.
Okay, yeah, that's big for an amber for sure, but I mean it makes sense now.
It seems drier than 1014 to me. That's interesting.
It does, yeah.
It really does.
And so I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, forgive me if you said it, but I sort of got caught up on other parts of the recipe. Did you say how long you boiled for?
90 minutes.
And you never really got a vigorous boil?
Here and there. I don't know. I think I may have stepped out and then came back and was like, shit, that's not boiling.
Yeah. Well, you're homebrewing. It wouldn't be a homebrew
Yeah.
today if you didn't do that. You go, no, it's fine. I got it. And then the boil kettle waits for you to leave. And then it goes, hey, we should really start, doing something. Do you guys think that like a 90-minute gentle rolling boil is going to drive this much caramel? Do you know how much evaporation you had, Vito? Like how much you had left? How much you had in the carboy? Was it a full 5.5 gallon?
I started about 4.5 gallons in the mash. I did a sparge because I couldn't do like I just kind of poured water over it because I couldn't dunk sparge. I don't have another kettle big enough. And then a slight squeeze of the bag. So about 7 gallons before the boil. And then 5 gallon.
You did have 5 in the carboy or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Carboy. Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of evaporation. Well, I guess there was, but like, I don't know. I feel like, did you get your grains yourself or did someone build this recipe for you?
Well, yeah, I got it myself. Actually, I think as far as the hops go, I didn't add something, but it was like a really small amount. So I was just like, whatever. But the malt bill is the 2013 BYO.
Yeah, but like you went to the homebrew shop and filled your own grains.
Somebody grabbed it from the back.
So
I wonder if someone fucked up because how much crystal malt could a 90-minute rolling boil with almost a 2-gallon of evaporation lend this much caramel flavor?
So I did get it from them. I'm trying to think because I do have my own grains here, but with this, I have like the 2-row, but I probably and the 60, but yeah, I probably had them put the rest of it.
I'm overthinking it probably. Let's move on.
I was curious.
No clue. I mean, that's why I'm here.
I'm still suspecting the boil. Just are you on gas or electric?
Electric, yeah.
So it's an electric. The burner has to get pretty hot to drive, that much. I mean, well, even just a flame on the bottom would do a similar thing. You have to get a lot, but it kind of permeates through a little bit more. There you have a lot of heat concentrated right at the bottom, and all that that work just swirling around in there for 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what the kettle looked like after you got the beer out of there? Was it like kind of burned on the bottom at all, or?
No burning.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
kept stirring
nothing.
it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is just I guess it's a classic example of what 2013 IPA recipe used to look like, but without the balance of the hops. Maybe it's just supposed to be like this, but if you had a lower hopping rate, more of that caramel would come through. That bitterness definitely wouldn't be there, and so you have a lot of that sweetness showing up. But if you have more bitterness, it sort of squashes all that, so you can pack. I mean, that's what John Mayer used to say in the 90s. He was like, if you want to add more hops, you add more crystal malt. And you can kind of bring up both of those feelings, but and obviously this is like very late 90s, early 2000s, beer, thinking. But it's exactly right. He goes, I would just take a recipe and increase the crystal malt and the hops by 20%. And you still get a lot of that hop flavor and that some of that bitterness, but the crystal malt helps keep that in balance. But without that hop, maybe this is what you get. I like it.
John Mayer said that?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
He told me while I was kissing him.
It came out really nice. Yeah.
Did you
do a yeast starter or just
no, just Y yeast 1056.
Smack pack there, yeah.
Smack pack, yeah.
I like it. I mean, what are you hoping to get out of this, Vito? What do you want? What do you want?
Just kind of enjoyed hanging out with you guys.
Cool.
And
Really?
yeah, right. First time. I don't
Wow.
know. Maybe it's a new thing.
That'll wear off, dude.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to hear. It was actually the first time I had fermentation control, temperature control.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
As well. So was just curious. I'm probably won't do a 5. I've got a relatively small apartment, so I'm not going to be doing 5 gallons out on like a propane burner or anything. But I'll probably end up doing 3 gallons. I still do my 1 gallons. I got a brew day tomorrow, and all that. But just kind of wanted to see, if there were just like any off flavors that maybe came from water or fermentation, temperature, and all that stuff.
I think
fermentation is fine. You're taking care of that as well, and that's one of the hardest things to master too. Like people start off tweaking recipes and going all kinds of different directions before they figure out how to take care of their fermentation. And the temperature control, and you must have pitched enough yeast. If you go much higher than a 1060, you might want to either use a couple of packs or start doing starters. And you can do the real simple. I like the simple home brewing recommendation, just the shake starter. You can get some proper and some, just bottled water, and then you throw the yeast in a growler and shake it up the night before you brew or whatever. And real easy. And that's kind of old school too, that's one fun thing you can do. We're not going to obviously convince you to buy a bunch more equipment. When I first started homebrewing on a stovetop, I was doing 3-gallon boils, and then I could get it to a nice rolling boil on the stovetop, and get the hop utilization that I wanted, and then I would add in water at the end, and that also partially cooled down the beer. So I was getting it through that temperature zone where the DMS could form or whatever more quickly, and cool it in the sink with ice and stuff in the little kettle. Like it was just super old school.
Were you doing that to bring it up to 5 gallons, or was it? You were doing.
Some of the recipes, and this is early 2000s, and it was just
it's easy extract way for sure.
It was what you did.
Yeah. Well, I will say, Vito, man, I mean, you had to like hand sparge on the stove, which is never easy, but it sounds like you got a good extraction doing that. So I think your process for these larger batches, because you also mentioned you use smaller ones too, I think that's pretty solid.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So
that was, like I said, I didn't have a separate vessel to dunk sparge, which is obviously easier than.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I mean, if you are in an apartment, one nice to have might be one of those kind of all-in-one, electric brew systems. A lot of them that are out there. I won't recommend any specific one because I haven't. Yeah.
I have the Brewzilla. You get it at More Beer. Solid. I mean, you do under 6 hours. As your brew day.
Actually, I just was listening to an episode earlier. You still trying to get rid of that Pika brew?
Yeah. I don't know how the hell I'm going to ship it all the way out to you, but
just kidding.
Yeah, if you want to come and get it, I'll give it to you for free, brother. All right, man. Well, if that's it, Vito, we'll let you go.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
Cool. All right. Thanks brother.
Thanks for sharing.
Fun.
Appreciate it.
Tasty beer.
And we're going to take a quick break, everyone. We'll be right back to wrap things up here on Dr. Homebrew. Stay tuned.
The leader in affordable, high-quality kegerators is here. Introducing Komos, the kegerator designed with serious beer drinkers in mind. It features an all-stainless steel draft tower, a major upgrade over traditional chrome-plated brass towers, and Komos keeps your new tower cold with their air-cooled tower fan, wrapping your beer lines in frigid coolness. Your beer is poured from innovative forward-sealing faucets that don't leak, so they stay cleaner for longer. Dual gas inlets on the rear of the fridge allow you to run both CO2 and nitrogen gas. Serve your beer with CO2, serve your kegged wine, or even cocktails with nitrogen. The digital temperature display has the largest range available, allowing you to use the Komos Kegerator for fermentation if you need to. And now Komos Kegerators ship with duo-tight draft fittings for that click-to-connect assembly we've all dreamed of. Buy direct from KomosDraft.com and receive free shipping on your order. That's KOMOS Draft.com. Now, back to the examination.
Thanks for hanging around, everyone. We're about to wrap things up here on Dr. Homebrew. Thank you very much to Vito and to Colin for sending in beers. If you want to be like those two people, email BYRYAYNY. No, that's not what it is.
It's just BRIAN. It's the right way to spell Brian. At thebrewingnetwork.com.
It's the only way to spell Brian.
I want to have a guest
Those
on.
who tell you different are wrong.
I want to have a guest on who spells his name Brian with a Y, and you guys can argue about it. That's what
I may
want.
boycott that show. You may be finding a different host.
We will call him names. We know all the names that you can call somebody named Brian.
It's just me, and like you guys are sitting there on mute, and you were
crying, Brian.
Yeah, you're striking. Man, I'll have Nate come in and be a scab. And just fill in the show, man.
All right. Well, yeah. So we're looking
I haven't seen Nate for a long time. Be nice to have Nate join us.
Yeah, I know you won't, though.
We had a couple of nice beers on this show. This was really a pleasure to judge. We're not just looking for people to try to wow us either, though. We really want to get. I really enjoy. Well, I enjoy talking to these people too, but
yeah,
like to fine tune something and try to do competition stuff. But we really also love helping people that are kind of just learning how to do it and getting started. They might have some questions and really having some problems. Send us the problematic beer too. It's fine. We can take it.
Well, right, and that's sort of what we started the show around too, is problematic beers, because we want to help people. And it's interesting that most people just want feedback. And we've had a few people over the years openly say like, "Oh, I don't want to send you bad beer," and it's like, but that's how we all get better.
Yeah, there's nothing personal in taking advice on something that you poured your heart into and tried to make a good beer, and it wasn't quite what you wanted, and there was a problem, and you might not know what it is. Well, we can try to help you figure out what it is and get there.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll figure all that out. Anyway, thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate you listening. Thank you, everybody, for listening live on Facebook. I appreciate that as well. If you are listening live, give us a couple minutes. We'll be right back with a second show, more Dr. Homebrew talk here, all that kind of fun stuff. And then if you're listening on the podcast, of course, we have a wide range of shows. There's a couple Brew Strongs that got posted already, and then these are going to be up here in a couple weeks, or a couple days, rather. So a lot of good content still coming at you on the Brewing Network. So, all that kind of fun stuff. So I think I've already said that like 4 times now. All that kind of fun stuff, because it's my now. Anyway.
And then
because we have lots of fun stuff happening here.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, I can plug ears up, too. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you later.